All right, guys, we have another NASM exam pass. We are welcoming Marjorie from Indiana, who recently passed her NASM exam, and she has some tips for you on passing this exam. Yeah. And so, Marjorie, thank you so much for joining. Thank you for taking the time out to share some tips to help these folks pass.
Of course, I'd love to help.
Okay, awesome. Marjorie, we're going to start off by how long did you study for? Would you say the entire time?
Sure. So from start to finish, probably about 5 months, but that's kind of a complicated question because the first 2 to 3 months I studied were kind of wasted time for me. I got that, big textbook. I hadn't been in school in 10 years. I finished grad school like 10, 11 years ago. I had no idea how to study, to be honest. I was just going to Starbucks during my free time and reading and not really comprehending a lot of the information, really bogged down by the text. Honestly, and I mean this, I had no idea Body Design University even existed until I found that Facebook group. But once I watched the BDU course, it all started to make sense. Once I was listening to Doug's videos and having someone explain the information to me really helped, especially in those chapters I was struggling with. So even though I studied technically 5 months, I would say the last 2 months, I was truly studying, absorbing the information, comprehending it, and really feeling more confident in my abilities.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you for that. A huge endorsement. Let me ask you, for those that are considering right now, there's a lot of folks in the group also considering the prep, but they're thinking, hey, look, I've already bought the NASM. Why do I have to buy something else, right? To pass this, they give me all these materials. Yeah. How did the Body Design University prep help you, and why would you recommend it to others?
Sure. Personally, I found the NASM prep kind of overwhelming just to navigate it. Once I saw the Body Design prep and it was kind of like laid out on one screen, you could go through every chapter individually. That was really helpful for me because I just needed something simplistic. I'm a busy mom, and navigating through different screens and different places was too much for me. I needed someone to kind of sit down and walk me through individual chapters. So once I found that, it was immensely helpful. There were some that I didn't need quite as much because the material was easier for me, but some of those chapters that really were troublesome, I would sit down and watch Doug's videos start to finish with my book open, paper and pen, taking notes. And it was just way more helpful than I expected to have like almost a teacher in front of me explaining concepts to me like we're one-on-one that were very difficult for me to comprehend just looking at a text by myself. So I can say that's why it was helpful just having almost like I said, sort of a one-on-one coaching in a way without talking to a live person.
Really cool. Awesome. Did you ever get to speak with Doug live?
I actually didn't. I didn't end up doing that just because my schedule is so kind of crazy right now with kids, but I thought about that and I saw other people did, and I'm sure that is, insanely helpful as well.
So literally you now let me ask you this, because you said the wasted time at the beginning. Do you wish you had enrolled if you knew about it? And I know you said you didn't know about it. If you'd known about the Body Design NASM prep, would you have done that from the beginning?
Oh, 100%. I am actually really upset, and I hope I can save other people the time because those 2 to 3 months, it was a waste of my time just reading the text and not comprehending it. If I had known about this, I absolutely would have saved myself 2 to 3 months of study time. And it was on a whim. I just was like feeling so overwhelmed with study prep. I looked on Facebook because I'm a member of some Facebook groups, like I'm sure other people are. I found this NASM prep. I'm like, okay, great. I joined. I heard about it on there and I wasn't sure what it was, but after looking into it, I'm like, well, it's worth a shot because I really want to get this done. And I'm so glad I did. So
cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. So let's and by the way, just congratulations for getting to the finish line.
Yes, it was a very good feeling.
Heck yeah. So, and when did you pass?
It was on Friday.
On Friday. Okay. So real recent. Okay. And by the way, I saw T, who also was in the prep pass, and she gave you kudos. So whatever you did to help her, thank you for doing that, by the way.
She messaged me. I love helping people. My background's in counseling. So I'm like, anytime I can pass along tips, I am there to do that. So I'm so proud of her also for passing.
Cool. Yeah. We're excited. We're excited for her too. Okay. So let's dive into it. Your top 3 tips. Now, besides the NASM Body Design University prep, which we know that was really helpful for you,
Yeah.
what were the 3 things that you feel were most helpful? Let's start with tip number 1.
Sure. So tip number 1, and I actually got this tip from Doug. I think I saw it on a YouTube video through BDU, and it sounds so simple. Like, I can't believe I didn't think of it myself, but it was super helpful to me. I was struggling, like a lot of people in that group, with understanding the overactive, underactive muscles, how to remember those, which ones are in the upper cross syndrome, the lower cross syndrome. And I'm like, how do I remember this? And he said, just like you would do the basics. Write them down, okay, rewrite them, turn the paper over, see if you can remember them. I'm like, okay, that sounds super simple, but I ended up doing that. I just kept writing them down. I would flip the paper over. I'd kind of walk around my house and see if I could say them out loud without looking. I did that several days, and by probably 3 or 4 days before my exam, I could say them all with no problem. And again, that sounds so simple, but it was
That's awesome.
super helpful. Yeah.
That's an awesome tip.
Those basic study methods. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. So write it down, the overactive, write it down, then literally flip it over, see if you can remember, and then write it down again.
Yep. Exactly.
Pretty much. And over time, you'll remember it. Perfect. All right, cool. Let's go to tip number 2.
Okay. So my tip number 2 was just take the practice exams. That is incredibly helpful. I took the BDU exams I took each one twice, and then I took the NASM exams as well. They were slightly different, but also similar, but they were both helpful. And one thing because you get used to what the test might look like, what kind of questions are being asked. And one thing I did that for me was helpful, and I have them here, is anytime I got a question wrong, I would write it on a note card. You see, I have this huge bag, and I would write the answer. And I would just take these everywhere, like picking up my kids from school in carpool waiting. I would just go through those note cards, those questions I missed. And I would also research it too. If it was something I really wasn't comfortable with, I would look it up, learn more about it. But just writing it down and quizzing myself on those things I missed after, very helpful.
Okay, awesome. So you went through the practice exams, both the NASM and the BDU. After you got done, whatever you got wrong, you made little note cards. And you would study those note cards when you were out and about.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So did you say you're a mom and you're a counselor?
So I used to be a counselor. I'm a mom of 2, and I work part-time at my gym right now. I also just got an interview for a personal training job tomorrow. So wish me luck.
Awesome. Yeah, congrats. We'll definitely wish you luck on that. Okay. All right. So you're a busy mom. You're doing all kinds of things. You're headed over to the gym. Okay. That's tip number 2. Let's move on to tip number 3.
So tip number 3 is kind of going back to what I had talked about earlier, but I agree with, I think it was you and Doug in one of the videos had said this, like, don't read the text word for word, because it just gets overwhelming if it's not a lot that you're familiar with. I agree with his tip to just skim the book. I wish I had done that. I read the whole text, like front to back, and by the end there were still so many things I didn't understand. I wish I had just skimmed it, looked through, found things that maybe I didn't understand I could look into more, but a lot of the information I should have just skimmed, and then went back and watched the videos for more in-depth comprehension. So that's my biggest tip, is don't get overwhelmed by that text. It is so big. It looks like a big college textbook. Just skim it and then go to those other study methods that I had mentioned.
Cool. Marjorie, you are awesome. Thank you so much. We appreciate you taking the time. Those are all awesome. A couple of those are very unique. We haven't heard. So I think it's adding a lot of value. Thank you for taking the time to come on here. And we wish you the absolute best in that, not only that interview tomorrow, but regardless of how that pans out, go make it happen. Help as many people as you possibly can through fitness and nutrition. We appreciate you.
And thank you for the study help as well.
Of course. You have a great one.
You too. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.